Hello, I'm trying this again and hoping that this works better. Perhaps. So, my name is Natalie. I am a mindfulness fellow with the Center for Spirituality, Dialogue and Service here at Northeastern. And I'm here every Thursday. I'm also a professor on campus. And I'm here every Thursday for a very brief mindfulness meditation practice that I offer in between classes in our busy schedules and days. And so the idea is to reclaim time, to reclaim space where we can find a moment to pause and find some stillness and quieten our minds. And so I would like to invite you to do this with me for just a short period of time now. And I will guide us through a focused attention or focused awareness practice. And so you can see that if you have been here before on Thursdays, that I'm in a different space, different times of the week. And I'm trying to make use of the space that is offered on campus, whether it's my office or whether it's a classroom. And to use those spaces for meditation practices, which they can be used for. So the invitation here is to begin our practice and our time together with just sort of finding a comfortable position. And so I am sitting on the floor right now, which I personally find very comfortable. But you have to establish that for yourself. So a comfortable position can be perhaps sitting on your chair, or a comfortable position can be to stand. It can also mean to lie down if that is available to you. Right? So take a moment to find that position for yourself and get comfortable in it. And so once we are in the position that we have chosen, we can try to quieten our minds in the same way as we get comfortable and quieten our bodies. And so the invitation is to pay attention to what is happening in our minds, and they're usually quite busy. You might be thinking about what has been just gone on in your mind prior to settling down, or you may have a list of to-do things in your head for later on today. And so the invitation is to redirect our mind to our body and the particular space that we are in right now. Something that can assist us with that is, which is what I'm doing right now, closing our eyes or lowering our gaze, softening our gaze, and to really attempt to be aware and experience the particular space that we're in right now. And the particular space we're in, there can be connection made here with our body in that space. So it might be helpful to notice your feet on the ground as you're sitting or as you're standing, or perhaps to lean against the chair if you're sitting on a chair. It might also feel supportive to just have the sort of sensation of your hands resting on your legs if you're sitting. I'm sort of sitting cross-legged and my hands are folded on top of one another, and just feeling my skin, the skin of my hands is sort of calming and pleasant for me, and a way to settle in. And as we do this, as we quieten our bodies and minds, I just want to say a thing about focused attention awareness. If you were here last week, I mentioned a few things about focused awareness. And I talked about how attention, giving and receiving attention, is perhaps quite precious. It's precious, it's rare. It is often a gift that we receive or give. But it often is quite difficult to attain as well. It can be challenging to give attention or perhaps to receive attention. And in mindfulness, focusing our attention is to give way to something. It is a way to give awareness, to give space to awareness. So an awareness about what we bring to a particular moment and particular space. So what is with us, but also an awareness about the environment that we are in, right? What is with the space that we occupy. So it allows us to see, to notice, to recognize and experience intentionally. One way to practice this focused attention is by choosing to focus on something in particular, right? So to narrow our focus on a particular element that we carry with us, perhaps. So often it is the breath that we use for this particular focus. So I invite you to do exactly that. So begin by noticing, locating your breath. The instruction is really quite simple. There's nothing to do here about your breath, right? So the task is not to discipline your breath or to change it, to speed it up or slow it down, or to amend it in any shape or form. The invitation is to simply notice it and to follow it. And you can locate your breath and trace it in certain parts of your body. So perhaps you can notice your belly and abdomen rising as you breathe in and out, or your chest rising. You can also notice your breath entering through your nostrils, right, and traveling through the back of your throat. So find that location of the focus on your breath for you. Take a moment to make that choice. And then bring your awareness to that place. So a way to stay in the focus is to sort of layer some numbering on it. So meaning we can count our breath. Right? That can assist us in staying focused on this particular practice. So, for example, every completed breath could be a number starting with 1. So breathing in and breathing out would be 1. And doing it again and out would be 2. So I invite you to breathe and count in your own time. There's no rush. And perhaps to count the numbers in your own mind. Suggest counting to 10, perhaps. It's a random number. But it's something that can assist you in staying with the process. Right? So counting up the numbers. And you may find that as you do that, you could perhaps lose focus, or your mind begins wandering as the numbers go up. And that's okay. If that is the case, you could simply return to the beginning of the practice and return to number one. As you're breathing, as you're counting, and as you gather your attention toward your breath, you might explore the sensation of breathing. And so, what does your breath feel like? It might feel soothing or warm. It might feel calming. It might not feel like anything at all, and that's okay too. Something to assist us in recognizing how attention can provide an awareness of what we bring to certain kinds of moments. To not judge us for it, but to simply notice them. So you may notice for yourself that a focus on breathing might not be pleasant at this moment for you. And if that is the case, you can find a different focus for the practice, right? So as we always begin our practice with a comfortable position, this could be your focus for your practice. So you could focus on your seating position. You could focus on your feet on the ground or your hands touching each other. That could be the anchor or the location for this practice. Something that I really like about this practice is that it's just so simple. It's simple in so many ways that I just want to name, right? So focusing on our breath or focusing on our posture that we choose, right, is so simple because it is always available to us. We always breathe and we always make choices about our posture. And I chose this particular conference room on campus to show that we can really do this practice simply whenever it's called for us. And I encourage moments of meditation in my own classes to sort of reclaim these spaces to pay attention to our health and to care for ourselves and to support us in very simple ways. You can do this practice just 5 minutes a day whenever it's called for you. And there's nothing we need to do here about our breathing, right? So if a focus on the breath is something that is pleasant for you or available to you, and there are reasons why that might not be, right? Wearing masks come to mind. But the breath is always with you, so you can carry this practice into all sorts of spaces, while walking, while sitting, while lying down, in your office, at home, on the train. It's just mobile, easy. So for the remaining few minutes, I'd like to invite us to broaden our focus. It's a part of a practice that we call open monitoring, meaning When we focus on our breath or a particular part of our body, it's sort of a focus on a particular something, zooming in on it. I'd like to invite you to zoom out. So we are adopting sort of a broader lens. And if the breath or the focus on the breath is a focusing on what is in us, then the zooming out is a means to create an awareness of and about what is with us and around us. And so zooming out, what does that mean? It can mean that you could notice sounds in the space that you're in. And so again, perhaps returning to closing your eyes or lowering your gaze and giving attention to hearing. The invitation is to notice what you can hear. So it could be the cars out on the street. It could be birds. Maybe it's voices distant in another room or in the building that you are in, or perhaps it's just the sound of your laptop. Just take a moment to hear what is here with you. Be curious about it. Be curious about hearing various sounds, but don't get attached to them. So the idea is not to create stories about these sounds, to get sort of attached to them or assess them, judge them, create labels for them. The idea is just to sort of recognize them. And maybe there's something curious about them that you can notice. Maybe there's a rhythm to the cars driving by, or you notice a particular sound of a particular bird. And when you notice it, just sort of check in on that, but then move on to other sounds. So as we're coming to an end, I just want to say that and reiterate these two ways to think about and focus our attention are invitations to pause. Right? They are opportunities for us to find stillness, to notice what is with us right now, and to also become aware of what the spaces that we're in provide for us, which is often something that is difficult to access in our busy lives. So many impressions and things to do. And that awareness can then give way to setting particular attentions for yourself and for yourself in a particular space. So with that, I invite you to return to your comfortable position, to let the sounds recede, perhaps to open your eyes again if you had them closed, and to hopefully join me again next week for another mindfulness practice. Take good care.